Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Zariballard, and this is the When Love is Alive video blog podcast. Today we're going to be talking about all that suffering. Everybody suffers when they deal with a narcissistic personality. Everybody suffers after it's over, even if they don't want that narc back. What does that even mean? I can tell you exactly what it means, and you're going to be surprised because you're going to find out that you're a lot farther along in your recovery than you ever thought possible. Hang on, and I'll be right back. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. And before I get into the video, I want you to hit that subscribe button right there, and also the notification bell so you can get notified of new videos. So let's get right into it. Listen, mentally letting go of the narc is never going to happen as fast as we'd like it to. If we realize that there are actually phases to the suffering post-breakup with the narc, and that for the most part we've actually moved through all the worst part of it without even knowing it, then we wouldn't be so compelled to go backwards, to make contact, to go back from whence we came, to the very person that caused us the pain. If we realized to break our addiction to the narcissist, we have to understand what all the suffering really means. If we weren't so willing to give in and give up, we could eliminate at that point the compulsion to break no contact. We would realize that it's not even the narcissist that we're missing, and I'll explain that in a minute. And we would realize that we are farther along in our recovery, that recovery is just around the corner. Okay, Zari, so what the fuck are you talking about? I'm saying that we become the suffering. It's part of the game that we play with the narcissist, and we're left with the residuals. Most of us don't even realize that when the final breakup with the narcissist occurs, our sadness and grief is actually less about the loss of the narc and the relationship than it is about the fact that we still are attached to the suffering. We associate ourselves with the suffering at the end. That is the key to the whole thing. If you think about it, during the relationship, we spend far more time with the suffering than we do spending any time with the narcissist. So it's natural to become attached to it. The sadness becomes a familiar connection. It keeps us in the loop. This is why the narcissist likes to keep us anxious and off balance. His theory, or her theory, is that as long as we're suffering, he can feel fairly confident that we're always going to be in the queue. And for the most part, his theory works. It's right. But we have the power to change it and say, believing in a theory like mine, that we can get out of the fucking queue, that we can get past the nonsense in our head much quicker if we realize it's not even about him or her. It's not. We just think it is. Maybe you feel like this. Okay, it's been weeks, it's been months. Okay, I don't even want the guy back. I don't even want the girl back. So why am I so unhappy? What the hell is wrong with me? And here's my answer. Nothing. Nothing is wrong with you. But you need to understand that there's two phases to the suffering. You're going to understand this. Just watch to the end of the video. You're going to get it. Time and time again, in consultations, I hear this. Why am I so sad? I don't even want the guy back. So why can't I get past it? Why can't I move past it? I explain that this is another form of cognitive dissonance. And it's not the same cognitive dissonance that makes us wonder if the narc is really a narc. That's different. And the difference is actually a good thing. When you've reached the point of feeling nuts over the fact that you still feel sad, the worst of the suffering is over. You've passed through the first phase, and you're no longer in denial. It's during the first phase of the suffering that somebody will ask me, is he or isn't he a narcissist? To which my response is just the very fact that you're talking to me. It tells me that you already know the answer to that. 2 phone calls later, when I hear he's a narcissist, I don't even like him anymore, then I know that you've pretty much successfully moved through phase 1. And you're moving along to phase 2. Now you're just attached to the sadness itself. And while this attachment is a little more bittersweet than it is to be attached to the narcissist, it's a whole lot easier to let go. It's a whole lot easier to let go of. Now, the problem with the second phase is that if we don't understand it, if we don't really grasp the meaning of it and how significant it is to our recovery, that's the dangerous part. This is where we will go back or think about making contact. So it gets a little tricky right here. We will feel depressed and we'll give into that depression. We give into our feelings. See, it's all about giving into the feelings. I tell people, you can feel sad. You can feel the suffering, but you don't have to sit with it for an hour. You don't have to sit with it for an hour, curl up in a ball and feel all sad. You don't have to do that. This is why right now, if you're feeling compelled to reach out to the narc, to contact the narc, I want you to listen to me very carefully. You need to pay attention. You're not crazy. This is normal. This is a normal part of the recovery process, believe it or not. The feeling of having to let go to be free of the madness is often pretty hard to appreciate. I didn't get it either at first. When my ex finally walked out, never to return, I couldn't even cry. I knew it had to end. Yet 3 months later, I was still feeling crazed with this undeniable grief. It took me a while to understand, to figure it out. I didn't realize that my attachment was long over. It was my attachment to the suffering that I had to get over. My addiction to the very drama that I hated. And that I could handle. And at first we missed the delusions, because although the suffering wasn't pleasant, it wasn't dull either. Being caught up in all the chaos and all the distraction and all that, I mean, it sure kept us on the edge of our seats. When all the narcissistic noise is gone, the silence is so deafening that we don't even realize that we're getting back to our sanity. And believe it or not, Zen therapy and Buddhism will tell you that after a tragic loss, after this kind of suffering, the recovery begins with a depression. Believe it or not, that's what they say. And it's true. I have found it to be true. But most people don't realize that. I swear to you, this is the way it works. You don't need professional therapy. You just need to move through it. This too shall pass, and quickly. So now you're in a phase where you're saying, I'm done with the narc. I'm done with the narc, and now I'm just stuck on the sadness. Everyone is sick of it, and I'm sick of it too. What the hell am I going to do? And I tell you, what you have to do is the key phrase, and I want you to write this on a Post-it note and stick it everywhere that you can see it. Our suffering changes nothing. Nothing. When we're with the narcissist, we suffer because we think it's going to change something. And it never does. For instance, when my narc would disappear, I would suffer like there was no tomorrow, day after day after day, until he returned. And then one day, while he was gone, I decided, well, hell, I'm going to have a ball until he comes home. And guess what? He did come back. Whether I suffered or not didn't make any difference. Not a single thing. If your suffering doesn't change anything, then you can choose not to suffer. Suffering or not, the result is the same. The same way that you were able to get through phase 1 of missing the narc by accepting it and moving through the sadness is the same way that you get over phase 2. Understand in your heart that your suffering doesn't change a fucking thing. It doesn't change the world, our world, the narcissist world, the universe. We can be suffering, curled in a fetal position, lose 10 pounds, cry until we can't cry anymore, and the world just continues on, and everything in it just continues on. As I said, in many ways, before the final freedom, before the final let go towards mental freedom, is often more bittersweet sadness, like the ending to a really sad movie. But this is your movie, and you can quit at any time and just exit the cinema. When you get to the point that you're sad, even though you know that you don't miss the narc, believe me, it's done. Hold all that useless suffering, all that suffering that changes nothing, right in the palm of your hand and give it a big kiss goodbye. Bye-bye. You don't need it. It doesn't change anything. It never changed anything. When you're done and it's really over, you're going to realize how much time you wasted. It's like a shocker. It's a shocker. You won't know what to do with all your time. Think about it. If we come to realize that all the love in our hearts can't compel a narcissist to do the right thing or to know right from wrong but choose to do the right thing, then getting over the narc and the sadness after it's over is really easy. Don't become attached to the suffering. That's what we do. And I think that in another way, the suffering, we associate it so much with the narcissist that in the end, letting it go means it's really over. So that's what I mean by that. If you know in your heart, and you can be, and your intention is right, and you're truthful with yourself, that you don't care about the narc anymore. You just don't. You know he can't change. You've accepted that. You accepted what he did behind your back. You accepted that much of what he told you was, in the moment he meant it, but it wasn't really true. Then there's really nothing to miss. So why are you sad? You're sad because you associate suffering with that relationship. And that's like the last thing to go. You can let it go. Doesn't mean you can't think of good times, but you know the reality behind it. What was authentic and what wasn't. You can do this. Truth about suffering is that it doesn't change anything. And if you are suffering, you need to you need to stop beating yourself up. You need to get out of therapy sessions where they're determined to talk to you about what's wrong with you, and that happens almost all the time, because there's nothing wrong with you. You're just moving through the grief. That's all it is. And depression is part of that recovery. And once you realize that depression is not even about the person that you think it's about you. It's about your sadness of being attached to that suffering. You can get through it. You can do it. Thank you for coming by today and watching my video. I'm really trying to work you through this recovery process. I'm trying to explain it the best way that I possibly can. I'm offering a new service now where I will actually make you a personal video that you can keep with you in your phone, play whenever you want to. I'll make it just for you. You send me your story and I'll do that. There's information at my website, thenarcissisticpersonality.com. My books are on Amazon. When Love is a Lie is my most popular. There's also Stop Spinning, Start Breathing. I offer consultations. You can call me anytime and I'll be glad to talk with you. I love you guys. I really appreciate that you come and you watch and you join with me in this journey to understand about this very bizarre disorder that has taken over much of our lives, but it doesn't have to be that way. So this is Zariballard, and this is the When Love is a Lie video blog podcast, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.